Howdy out there, everyone. Rosendo from MLH here once again. Let me know if you're in chat. Let me know if you're actually viewing the workshop because I want to make sure that you've gotten through the ad break. I hope you enjoyed the Q&A with our uh, CEO and co-founder Swift, along with the folks at ARM. Yeah, we got Mr. AI Tech back at it again. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Let us know where you're from. Let us know where you're joining. Let us know what your interests are. I want to let y'all know that Global Hack Week Gen AI is going to be rolling right along. We've got another awesome workshop in store for y'all today. Obviously, if you are in our Discord channel, you will have learned that a couple of our workshops upcoming are going to have some swag drops. So make sure you're checking in with regards to the schedule. Make sure that you're checking out some of the other content that folks are having in line for you. So yeah, something to look forward to. So in this workshop, you're going to be tapping into the power of Oracle Autonomous Database Select AI to turn natural language questions into real answers fast, quickly, very speedily, expediently. Yes. All right. And we've got a certified Oracle expert in the room with us today. You know what? I'm not going to go ahead and take up too much time. I just want to make sure that you register and check in. Make sure you check out that link in the chat there. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the chat for everyone if you don't have it yet, but make sure you check out that link, register and check in. But without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring up our good friend, Nacho Martinez. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Rosendo.
Of course.
And yeah, thank you everyone for coming. I hope you are gonna enjoy this session. I want it to be, very informative and friendly. So please, whenever you have any questions, just drop any in the chat, and I'll be very happy to answer your questions. So yeah, this session is gonna be about Select AI, but a lot of you are in university, so I don't want to go into too much technical details on only Select AI. So Select AI is only one of the many features that the Oracle database has. So I want to, first of all, just do like an overview why Select AI and why Autonomous Database is actually a great product and how it can be used for side projects as well as in your job. So yeah, let's begin. So we prepared this these live labs. We have a live lab here which you can follow at your own pace. If you get lost, you can also follow this at home whenever you want. So this is gonna be like kind of like a tutorial / hands-on lab. I don't want to go too much into detail, but let me just give you like a quick introduction on why Select AI exists, how it came to exist, and what are the advantages of that. So Select AI is like an intelligent AI component of the database that tries to remove a lot of the complexity of querying and retrieving data from the database. So for example, I'm a data scientist. I used to not really like databases when I was studying. It was probably my worst subject in the university. I'm shameful to say, but yeah, for people like me who don't have like a very strong background on databases, I started working on non-relational databases with JSON, just because it's easier on the data science side. So for me, who doesn't have a lot of experience on selecting, querying data, especially when the database becomes, very big, you have a lot of tables, a lot of schemas, foreign keys between tables. It becomes really, it becomes really confusing in not a lot of time, right? So for people like me, using Select AI is like a big advantage because I can talk with the database kind of in like natural language, just like I would talk with a large language model or like an AI, and I will get the response. And this natural language query that I make is going to be translated into Select, into Oracle SQL, and then it will do the queries. And we will see how this happens because it's kind of like a very inventive thing that they discovered. It's a process that was called NL to SQL, which means natural language to SQL, which is like an engine that does this translation, and this is like the most powerful thing that Select AI is based upon, right? But yeah, so when you're usually speaking with a large language model like this, you're usually talking like with a prompt, right? You can, answer questions about your prompt. You can do sentiment analysis, extract information, summarize, maybe create a chatbot and chat with this chatbot. But this is great, but this is not enough for some cases, especially when you have like a huge data lake or a database that is running on your app. So for example, imagine that you have 500 gigabytes or 1 terabyte of data, right? You don't have an easy way to inject this information into the large language model without going over the context. So Select AI especially focuses on solving this problem by trying to focus on the database schema. So it does some kind of metadata on each one of the tables and each one of the variables on the tables. And that allows you to answer questions like this one, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to answer questions about this in your database usually, like listing my top 10 customers. Well, it needs to know, first of all, who your customers are. It needs to know the revenue of each customer, et cetera, et cetera. So these specific things, LLMs cannot fix or solve by themselves, right? And this is where Select AI comes. So the LLMs, just by default, they are neural networks, right? And they have some inherent problems on it. The first problem may be hallucinations, which is when you are talking with a large language model that has been trained on some training data, but the generations or the responses that the LLM gives you aren't good enough, or maybe they are just like not true, or they don't coincide with the training data. Why? Well, since it's a neural network and the only thing that's being generated is one token after the other, it might just be that with the hyperparameters that we put on this neural network, the generations are just not correct. And there are a lot of other limitations. Like, for example, when you train a large language model, you train it and it takes a long time to train. And it has like a training cutoff date of your training data, right? Imagine if you are using data up to April 2024, nothing that happens after that is going to be known by the LLM, so you will not be able to get answers from it. So this is a big limitation on LLMs, and kind of like there is a system which I will introduce, which is called Retrieval Augmented Generations, or RAG, that tries to avoid this, right? It will try to inject some kind of up-to-date data, more up-to-date than the training cutoff date of the LLM. And this allows the LLM to not only have the information on the original information from the training data, but as well more up-to-date information, right? So with Select AI, you're able to talk with your database about anything that you have in there in this kind of way, right? You just say like Select AI, and then you can either select, you can tell, please tell me the SQL equivalent of my natural language query, which is called run SQL. These are just like commands that have been pre-configured to solve the specific problem that you have. If you're running with run SQL, it will give you the SQL equivalent, and then you can run the SQL. If you just, for example, say, explain to me the SQL generated query, it will actually explain how it came up with this SQL. So this is great for me, for example, because I don't know a lot about complex queries. And also you can just chat like with a large language model, and then you can combine all of these to create like an AI powered. It's like an AI powered database, basically. And you can connect many database, LLM providers, not only the standard ones, but also you could, in theory, download whichever model weights from Hugging Face and just deploy them. For example, on OCI, you have the ability to deploy your own models, through the Open API specification, just like with OpenAI, Google, Cohere. So you can choose, in theory, any LLM that you want, connect it to Select AI with some authentication, which we will see how, and then just talk with the LLM and with the data in your database. Yeah, so it has lots of supported models, right? And you can just bring your own if you wanted. So just looking at an example of how ChatGPT answered this generated SQL, it gives you an explanation, right? But ChatGPT, remember that it has something that it doesn't know, which is your database schema. And this is why Select AI is implemented and it is integrated inside the database, because it allows the Select AI component to access the database schema, get all of it, and add it as context on the prompts like this, right? So imagine that you have your natural language prompt. I don't know, our top 10 stream movies, top 3 baby boomer big spenders, whatever you want. And here, this part is transparent to us, but it will insert in some kind of very optimized way with some hints the meaning of the variables on your tables. What are also a list of the foreign keys, so it knows where to retrieve the data. And of course, you have to stay consistent with the database schema, but as long as you're doing something that makes sense, the generations are actually going to work. So this generates like an augmented prompt, and this augmented prompt will actually yield you the SQL that you can then run to solve your problems, right? And this becomes more and more useful the bigger your database is, and the more tables, the more variables you have on them. So I don't want to bore you with the details. So I would rather just go in detail. Mr. AI Tech, does Oracle have any in-house LLMs like Meta's Llama? Yes. So we do have supported services outside of the database as well, in a service that we call OCI Generative AI Service. And with this service, we do support the newest Llama models because we have a partnership with Meta and also with Cohere. So all of the neural networks weights, they give us to them, they give the weights to us, and then we deploy them for you inside OCI. And this is particularly interesting for people who are very skeptical about, not having data leaks and things like this, because we are doing the deployment locally. So we make sure that whenever you're using Llama on OCI, your data never leaves your tenancy. And this is very important for some people, Mr. AI Tech. Hope that answers your question. But yeah, you have this link as well. You should have it on the chat. No, we don't. We don't have any officially LLM that's been trained by Oracle. We're just more like an inferencing supporter, right? We have a big cloud, lots and lots of infrastructure, and we try to support this in this way. We're kind of like an inference helper for you. We don't create any official Oracle LLMs. So you can follow this at home. I don't want to, if you don't want to do it with me, you don't have to. But I will show you how you can set up Select AI on your own database. If you don't have an OCI account, you can set up a free trial account if you want it. And with the always free account, you should have access to an autonomous database for free with one CPU forever. But if you don't want to register on OCI, you can also use this autonomous database free container in Docker or Podman or whichever container engine that you use. You do also have a free container image with all the features on the 23 AI version. And this also allows you to use Select AI. So without further ado, I have here my OCI account, right? I already deployed this, but I will just show you that in order to set up your workshop environment, you can actually come here, create a policy, and this, first of all, is very important because this will allow you to use the generative AI family, which is the permission specific for using GenAI and LLMs in your compartment. And after that, we will create the resources on the compartment. If you don't know a lot about OCI, don't worry, because we have this deploy workshop button here. And once you click it, it's basically like an automatic Terraform script that will do the deployment for you automatically. So you can just set up a name here, and this will deploy an autonomous database with some additional features. And also it will put a sample data set from IMDb, a lot of movies. So you can actually see what's in the database. And then we also have Oracle Apex interface, which is this one, which I'll show you, the purpose of it. But by default, on Autonomous Database, if you create a database, you will also get access to Oracle Apex, which is called Oracle Application Express. It's like a front-end helper for people like me who have no experience on front-end. So it's like a drag and drop, no code or very low code platform for you to create a front-end. And this is, of course, if it's created inside the database, so it is directly connected to all your database resources there. And then also you have this Oracle machine learning service that is also deployed inside the database. And this allows you to create, like notebooks, also like schedule jobs, create your own models, fine tuning. It also has an AutoML component for you to explore if you want to do some, old machine learning, like regression, classification, but automatically. It will do a lot of the things that we used to have to do as data scientists automatically, right? So we will also see why Oracle machine learning is great for this specific use case. But, first, let me just go into the database and show you, what it is. So once you just deploy this, you can select your region where to deploy, your compartment. Of course, I would just select mine. You just put on some additional information about your database, like the database name, number of CPUs, how many times you want data in terabytes, like how much data you want on your data set. In our case, we selected just one. Well, 1 terabyte is still a lot for a movie data set. But after this process is done, you will get something like this, which is a stack, right? And this, you can see how the deployment is going on Terraform. Here I have my logs. It takes about 10 15 minutes to create. So I don't want you to do it right now, but just know that after this, the stack gets executed. You do have access to database, right? And here's my database username and password, and also some URLs that I can use for my demo, right? So this will be automatically deployed for you. Any questions? Just let me know. And then after this is created, then we can just log in into the database, right? You get a panel like this. It's an autonomous data warehouse. And you can either choose SQL, you can go to all database actions, which I will show you. And each one of these things has a specific, benefit. But let me use the movie stream user just to let you know. So let me open this here. And you will see. Oh, yeah. So if you go into the chapter 3, using natural language queries with Select AI, we do have to do some configuration on it, right? We do have to authenticate on OCI, even if we're inside the database. We need to create like a specific profile. You can have multiple profiles with different LLM providers, but this profile will actually tell the database, well, I want to use OCI as the LLM, or I want to use OpenAI, I want to use whatever you want. And here is where you give the the authentication, either your API key or however you're authenticating to that model. You have to run it here, right? And then you just have to activate this profile, and then you can just start talking with the model, right? So let me just show you what's on the database right now, right? We have a lot of data. Let me log in again. Password. Right. So let's see, for example, what's in the actors table, and we have a we have a movie ID, which is a foreign key that is referencing the sorry, the movies table. But yeah, let me just show you what's in some of these, just so you get an idea of what we have on the database, right? We have actors, we have customers, we have genres, we have streams, and then we also have some other things like digital shop stuff. So, we also have a location tables with locations of pizza shops here with some additional information. So just be mindful of what we have here, right? And I will show you how to communicate with this, right? So imagine this is the Apex application, and this is running in database. So if I wanted to ask any question, but I don't want to spend the time looking at all the foreign keys, the database schema, I don't need to understand it. I can just say something like, what are the best movies from actor Tom Hanks or Tom Cruise? I don't know, whatever you want. And give it a second. And this is actually returning the results without any SQL. This is actually running the SQL in the database and returning you the results. And then you also get two buttons here, one for exploring and one for explaining. So let's say that I want to learn how to do this query myself. Imagine that you're preparing for an exam on database management. Then you can just use this explain function, and it will tell you how it came up with this SQL code, right? This is the final result. And here it explains how it came up with this query. For example, it's designed to retrieve a list of unique movie titles from the movies table where the actor Tom Hanks is involved. And it tells you why and when it uses the select clause, the from and join clauses, and where to filter and how to filter. So if I were to just copy this, go to the database and run this, I will just get the same result that I got on my Apex app, right? So this is just like a front end that's communicating. But this is for me, it's the best feature, especially for learning, right? And then you can also explore if you just want to, modify, download, and take a look at this, filter. So you can also interact with the database this way from the front end if you want. So, I mean, if you have any questions in chat that you want to ask the database, feel free to tell me, and I will just put them just so you make sure that this is not a fake or anything. I'm not coming up with the questions so that this works just for the sake of the demo. But yeah, this is Apex, right? And you if you have any questions about Apex, I can put you with some good resources on how to create your own front end with very very low. It will take you like 5 minutes to create like a first version of the app. Yeah. So select movies based on the genre. Yeah. So let's say something like how many R's there are in strawberry. Well, it will probably. I know where you're going with this, but it allows me to also talk about the that you can also chat with the model without doing anything, right? So here, if you wanted to just chat with it, you can just use the DBMS Cloud AI plugin that is in the database with the generate. I'll try. It will probably fail because I'm going to use, well, it's failing for most non-reasoning models on LLMs, but you already know that if you came up with this question. But how many R's are there in the word strawberry? And for those of you that don't know this is one of the biggest questions on the Turing test. And like you will be astonished to learn how many times this fails for most LLMs, even the ones exactly. Look at this. I don't know why. Well, I know why. I can explain why later if you want, but it's basically because how the words are encoded. It cannot come up with how many R's there are in the word strawberry, and this is one of the main factors and one of the biggest questions that people are making with newer LLMs to just know if the reasoning capabilities of the LLMs are good. But yeah, a good question, Mr. AI Tech. Can you select movies based on genre? Yeah. So let's see. Let's ask some questions about what is the most or what are the most popular genres from actor Tom Hanks? Something like this, where it has to go into the genres table as well, probably. Right. It will tell you that the number one is drama. So let me just check out the SQL, how it came up with it, and we can see what's on the database on this. But as you can see, it's gonna do a query from the actors to find the information on Tom Hanks. Then it's gonna do a join on the streams to see what are the most popular ones. And then it's gonna do also a join with a genre table, which will give it, the information about the genre. So let me just copy this, go into the database, and we can have a look. So yeah, for those of you who are late, I will just tell you that we are talking about Select AI, which is a feature on autonomous database that allows you to chat automatically with your database in natural language, and you can ask questions about complex database schemas. If you have 30, 40, 50 tables with foreign keys that are connecting each other on different levels, multiple foreign keys with a star design or a very confusing design, if you will. All of this is abstracted for you, and then you can just ask questions in natural language and get the result in SQL, which is very good for people like me who don't know a lot about SQL. But yeah, as you can see, it's able to actually return these things for you. So let me go to the OML or Oracle Machine Learning. And if you do the deployment, there is a guide here, Piyush Sharma. There is a guide that you can follow as well with all the steps that I've been done until now. So if you want, you can just follow this. You will find it in the chat. But yeah, let me go to OML. So OML also comes with the database. I don't think it comes with the free container, but if you're on OCI, you will get also an Oracle Machine Learning endpoint on it. So if I go into my notebooks, I already have a notebook here called ADB Speaks Human, which is kind of like what we are doing with Select AI, right? And here is kind of like a notebook. You can either run your Markdown or run code cells in Python or in other kinds of languages. You can also run scripts on SQL. And since this is directly connected to the database, you can also run SQL scripts directly from here. And this is what I want to do. Just show you that, let me run this. And while it's running, I will explain to you that this already has all the configuration commands that you will need to run in order to authenticate with specific AI provider, either OCI, Azure, Google, Gemini. And if you are bringing your own Hugging Face model to OCI, you just have to select OCI here, right? Let me just show you that here, depending on the provider that you want, right? Here, you will have to perform different kind of steps, right? If you're authenticating with the generative AI service on OCI, which uses by default the OCI supported models, you can skip this step. But if you want to authenticate with OpenAI, for example, then you will need to provide your OpenAI API key right here. And same goes for the other LLM providers, right? But yeah, once I'm in here, I can show you the results. So this is basically me creating an AI profile and authenticating with OCI. You can change this. And here I'm allowing this AI profile from OCI to run. Well, I mean, not in this case, but if you're specifying, for example, others, you have to specify which elements of your database, which database tables, views, non-materialized views, JSON duality views, all of these things, you need to specify them in the object list. And this is also good for multi-user support. If you have multiple people and you want to use the same database, you can assign a different profile for each person, and they will have access to different kinds of tables. I think the limit of tables is 200. If I don't remember, if I remember correctly, is 200 tables in total for each one of the profiles, or 200 objects. So you could, in theory, have a very big list of objects, and this profile will be able to access this like this. You will say, well, how is the Select AI able to come up with specifically the SQL without having it fail all the time? Like, how does it happen? Imagine that you have a very confusing table. Like, let's see, the customer has a lot of things, right? The cast ID, last name, first name, email. Many of these are self-explanatory, and we don't need to worry about them. But then there are some variables here, like YRS customer, promotion response. Let's see, late mort rent PMTS. Some of these columns or variables within this table are confusing. If they are confusing for me, imagine how confusing they must be for a neural network that doesn't speak our language. So it kind of doesn't have the required context to answer this question about this table. So how does it actually come up with the correct SQL every time? Well, apart from having this, there is also some metadata that you have, or you can specify whenever you want, either when you create the tables or afterwards. And this metadata is like a collection of hints that you specify to clarify the meaning and the purpose of each one of each one of the columns on the table. And this is actually part of the packet or the message that gets sent afterwards. When you're making this augmented response here, right? This database schema metadata is actually injected. And this is how it's able to come up with the SQL. Hope that answers your question. So let me go back to the notebook and keep going. So after I created my profile, I activated my profile, I can just start using these commands, right? So this is, for example, us using Select AI with the chat mode. So remember, chat mode is just like talking with an LLM, just like you would on any other interface. No additional information, no database schema gets injected anywhere. It's just talking about nothing. I mean, no additional data with the LLM. For example, what are considered the best movies that have been produced in the past 20 years? And then it will come with this response, but it will not use any of the data that we have on your database. So this is just like the standard Llama response generated by OCI GenAI service. Then we could also, try, first of all, some selects. So you can see what's on these tables. Either the customer movie streams, when the users stream the movie, with the movie ID. Of course, all of these are foreign keys, to the genre table, to the movie table, to the customer table, and etc. Where they looked at this movie, either on Chrome, Safari, which browser, which device, which OS, etc. Then we also have a movies table, and then you can also filter like this, right? And finally, some customer info. So this is standard selects, right? But then we also have the actions, the select AI actions, and this is where the magic starts. It's kind of like the same that we've been doing on the Apex frontend, but this is in a notebook environment, right? We can either use this run SQL, which will directly run the SQL and return you the result that you wanted. For example, select AI, run SQL, what are my total sales? And it will give me that the total sales is $4.2 million in this case. So the amount of sales that have been made with the movies on the database is 4.2 million. Then narration, right? It's like a run SQL with some additional natural language finesse. So for example, instead of just returning you this in like a ugly SQL, it will just return it in natural language. The total sales amount is blah, blah, blah. And then show SQL, which will give you the select, the SQL code, and then you can run this if you want it. And explain SQL, my favorite, is the one that explains how it came up with the query. And this is especially good for students and people getting started on SQL, because it will help you big time on generating these things. And then you could also ask tougher questions, like, for example, what are the total sales by movie? And we had a great question in the chat before about this, but let me answer this question first. You have made the database, so why do you need the API key of any other database like Gemini or there? So you, Piyush, you don't need them. If you want, you can just use the OCI models. But if you are picky about the LLM, imagine that you want to use an LLM that isn't supported officially by OCI, then you can also bring your own model. So we use this kind of bring your own model architecture, where we also allow you to input your own OpenAI API key if you wanted to use OpenAI models. If you want to use a Hugging Face model that's completely open source and you will not deploy it at home and use it, then you can also do that, right? And it says, another question is, will the query that gets generated, will it be always the lowest query cost? What do you mean exactly by lowest query cost? Is it the least number of tokens generated? If you could clarify that for me, please. But yeah, we have we also have some queries that do get generated, and then they have some additional logic, like, okay, we need to select, but then we also need to make a join, and then we need to do a group buy to see where the sales by movie with the best movies first. So we need to access the movies table, the streams table to look at the best movies, and the number of number of views on each one of them, and also the titles of the movies. So even what I want to show you with this is that even if your database becomes huge, or you think it's unmanageable with your knowledge of it, don't worry about it, because you have Select AI on it. So just make sure to use 23 AI as your database, and you will get this for free. And you also get some additional examples here, but the main idea, I hope you already saw. You do have all of this available if you are deploying this with there is here. Let me show you. Let me show you, because here you do have a button that deploys the workshop for you automatically, right? So in theory, you can just follow these instructions and it will deploy everything for you, right? Yeah. So the main idea is that with Oracle Database, you do get access to an SQL interface with this, which is called Database Actions. You do get access to a machine learning environment where you can do like your own experiments with notebooks, like what we have done with Select AI. And also you get an Apex interface for low-code front-end deployment, and also it's directly connected to the database, right? And of course, when you're using notebooks, I don't know how familiar you are with the notebooks, but if you're using notebooks, you do also get this AutoML experiments part here. So you could, in theory, create a specific use case that you wanted. And with a specific data set, you can also create an automatic notebook for you. So it will generate with GenAI, of course, it will generate a notebook about what you want to predict. You can just select which variables to predict here, and it will do everything for you. You can select how many hours you want the model to train. Of course, you also get access to additional features like early stoppage and some other hyperparameters to control how much you want the models to run. But this is your environment. If you wanted, you could run this forever. It's available on Always Free. You do get a database for free forever if you are on OCI. You just have to select here. If you have an Always Free autonomous database instance, just select True here. And in this case, it will provision an Always Free Oracle autonomous database. If you go over 20 gigabytes of storage, it will start billing you. So there are some requirements for autonomous database to be categorized within the Always Free category, right? And I think I am not missing anything. Let me just make sure that I spoke about everything. But like I said, you do have access to this step-by-step guide of what we have seen, but it goes a little bit slower than what I came. This is in theory a 2-hour workshop. So if you wanted to do this at your own pace, you can also do that. Explore with the database. And if you want, take a look at other data sets other than the movies database, and just let us know how it goes. If you have any questions on how to deploy, if you get any problems with the deployment and stuff, I will be looking at the MLH Discord. I'll be there for a couple hours, and also my colleagues are very friendly and very supportive. So just drop the questions there, and we'll be there. And yeah, I don't know if Yeah, Rosendo, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, Natra, I know, there's not many questions. I think we've covered all of the questions in the chat up till now.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned earlier that like as you were going through school, data science maybe wasn't like one of your favorite topics. So how did you get into it as a profession at this point? Because obviously you're pretty
No,
knowledgeable in the subject now.
yeah, yeah. So I used to hate databases. I didn't
Mhm.
used to hate machine learning, but I never did data science until I started working on Oracle.
Okay.
I actually my major was on cybersecurity, so it was completely different. Like vulnerability analysis and all these things. But I actually really started enjoying machine learning when I started joining Oracle because I joined a great team, a consulting team, and we started doing some things about AI before AI was actually mainstream. So I kind of got like the opportunity to develop some things that weren't created before. We have a project, and I can openly talk about this because it's a public project. It's called Bella, was the behavioral economics learning algorithm. And we created this algorithm to essentially take any advertisement and make it more user friendly. Like
Okay.
we introduced a lot of behavioral behavioral biases that make you want to click the button more. And this was before LLMs. I mean, LLMs, as you guys understand them, they got created in 2017. Before that, there was no context. So context, which is like the main foundation of LLMs, got
Mhm.
created in 2017. I started working in Oracle in 2019. So it was kind of emerging at that point, and I really liked it. But databases, I did have a problem. It was not my subject in the university actually.
I
Yeah.
see. So you basically got into data science as a result of like some of the interests you had in the emerging tech within that
Yeah,
within
yeah,
that
yeah.
discipline.
So before I was like an intern on robotics department in my university. So we did some. I was kind of like the Python guy um, on there, and they told me you have to learn Python by tomorrow, and I just learned Python, and then I just went there as an intern. I worked for 6 months. Well, I worked. I didn't get paid, but you know
Hmm.
how it is with the internships many times. Um, but yeah, I started working in robotics, and then I just made the switch to AI. Yeah, Mr. AI Tech, the paper published by Google, exactly. Yeah, it's in 2017. It's called "Context is All You Need." For those of you who are interested, it's a great paper that it created a way to encode the information and allow LLMs to hold information in in a backwards compatible way. Like before, you had to if you had imagine that you had a thousand words and you wanted to pass that to an LLM. Before context existed, they had to compute the importance of each word against all 999 words, which was not sustainable because the bigger the input was, the more it took to actually do these computations and stuff. But then context got introduced and things changed very quickly. And look at where we are 8 years later,
Hmm.
right?
It
Yeah.
reminds me of that show Silicon Valley when they had like people actually like training the models manually based off of like the image recognition models and things like that. So it reminds me of like a
Yeah.
time in AI before a lot of the manual work, I guess, like the learning part
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, that show. A lot of people mention that show, and actually, I wish that the technology. I don't know if you watched it completely, but for those of you who haven't, they basically like, and this hasn't been solved yet, but in the show it does. They create an algorithm that is able to compress zip files or like compress
Yeah.
data with 99.9999% compression. So this would solve so many problems nowadays. Like, with Neuralink, this is the biggest problem that Neuralink has, which is data compression. Like, you have a chip on someone's brain, but all the information needs to be compressed into only 30. I think it's either 16 or 32 outputs. So all of the data in the brain needs to be categorized into 32 categories, which and if you are, if you want to solve this problem, there is actually a big reward. I don't know if it's like $1 million, but I think Elon Musk has like a bounty
Hmm.
for solving this. So if you want to try to solve this problem that the Silicon Valley guys solved, you're free to try.
For any of the ambitious hackers out there, Global Hack Week, maybe you can try. Maybe you can do it. I don't know, with some Oracle
Yeah,
database
I
platforms.
wish. I wish.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nacho. I really we've really enjoyed
Yep.
all of the stuff that you did today, and all of the things that you showed us. We've got Rocco Zant saying that thanking you so much for teaching us. So
Oh yeah.
definitely,
Thank you.
yeah, definitely a lot of interesting tidbits here, and it looks like folks are getting excited about the context is all you need paper as well. I guess another question is that different from attention is all you need paper?
Oh yeah. It is. Attention is
Mhm.
all you need. Sorry,
Okay,
I mistake by me. So
all
attention is
good.
all you need. But context and attention is the same concept in LLMs. It's kind of like where to look, right? Where to look for the meaning of the words and how to encode them into a matrix. Yeah, no worries. Quackers and cheese.
Yes.
And yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much once again. Thank you for taking your time here. Obviously, we're gonna have a little bit more time with Nacho today. If you want to go into the Discord channel and continue any of these very riveting conversations about attention, context, anything AI related, Oracle related, obviously, definitely give us take a look. So it's going to be discord.omnish.io. That's the channel, the server invite, in case folks don't know at home. And you're going to head over to the Ask Oracle channel. I'll drop that in the chat as well. All right. Well, it's been amazing. Honestly, we've got Global Hack Week workshops coming up. And like I said earlier, there are going to be some swag drops in some of the workshops upcoming. So definitely make sure that you join. Nacho, once again, thank you so much. And thanks to the Oracle team that's in the chat as well for answering some of those questions. We appreciate y'all. Anything else you wanna end with?
No, just drop by the Discord. I'll be on for a couple hours. So if you want to chat, I'm there.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see y'all later. Make sure you keep it locked in because we've got another workshop coming up right after this. And hope to see you there. All right. Take it easy,
Yeah.
y'all. Bye.
Bye.